So, hello and welcome to another video from sickmaths.co.uk, where you find the whole of GCSE Maths explained on video in detail, all for free. And this video is about dimensions. So when I'm talking about dimensions, I'm talking about, you know when you hear somebody say 3D, like a 3D film, that means three-dimensional, and I'm sure you know what three-dimensional means, right? Okay, so 3D, there's 2D as well, which is something that's flat or an area, 1D, which is basically just a length, and of course 3D, I missed out really, is like a volume, okay, and you will notice you see length, area, volume, and that stuff described there, rather than actually saying 3D or 2D or 1D, we talk about volumes, areas, or lengths. Okay, and this whole topic is actually about deciding whether a given thing is a length, area, or volume, and there are rules that decide that. Very simple rules, actually just two rules that decide how you move from one dimension to another and what dimension you end up as, and that's what you're going to write down. And the question looks so similar to each other every single year in the GCSE maths exam. They pretty much say there are lengths A, B, C, and D, so they actually use those letters, and then they tell you that pi is not a number. If they don't say pi is a number, well, basically they will put pi in there and try to trick you, pretending it looks like a letter, doesn't it? Yeah, but it doesn't represent a letter; it represents a number. Okay, and basically, let's just go through it, and I'll show you how it works. Basically, the number. One thing you have to remember are the two rules, and the rules are, if you want to increase in dimension, say from length to area or area to volume, you can only do that by timesing by a length. Now that makes sense if you think about it. To get an area, you have to times two lengths together. To get a volume, you have to times three lengths together, right? So you times by a length to go up in dimensions, okay? So if I, for example, want to go from area to volume, I have to take my area and times it by a length, and then I get a volume. Now if I want to go back down in dimension, I have to say take my area and divide it by a length, and then I go down to length. Okay, so let's go to an actual example. And those are the only two rules. Anything else does not change your dimension. So I've got a length to start off with, and I times it by a number. Not by a length, but by a number. That makes no difference. I already said there's only two rules. So if I'm timesing it by a number, no difference. I stay as a length. So that's our first one done. Second example, okay, we've got a number, a length, and a length, okay. I've got three lengths timesing each other, so a length times a length, okay. So length times a length gives you area, times a length gives you volume, okay. Times a number does nothing. Remember, pi is a number, it's not listed here as a length, okay, so you got a volume. That's another example done. Here we go, we've got another example. We've got a length times a length, which is an area, times a number. The number does nothing. Remember, you can only times or divide by a length. So length times a length is an area, times by a number does nothing, so it's still an area. But now I divide by a length, and dividing by a length decreases the dimensions. Okay, so I've got an area divided by a length, takes me down one dimension from area, which gives me a length. Okay, because of course one dimension is length and two dimensions area, so going down a dimension from two dimensions to one dimension gives you a length, which is one dimension. Probably over explaining it now. Okay, these ones get a bit more complicated, so I've done a few arrows to show you what's going on. First of all, I've got a length plus a length inside the bracket. Obviously you do the bracket before you do the power. That's a bit of BidMaths information for you. If you don't know what that means, just go to the sickmaths.co.uk website and go to BidMaths and you'd know what I'm talking about. But anyway, plus two lengths together. Well, I said you have to times by a length to increase in dimension. So if you're adding two lengths together, it makes no difference. So a length plus a length is simply a length. And that should make sense, because if I have 1 meter and add 5 meters, it doesn't make an area, does it? It just makes it 6 meters, just a longer length. So it stays as a length. So this stuff in the bracket simplifies to a length, as we've got there. Okay, and then this whole bracket, which is a length, basically, squared, means length squared is another way of saying length times length. Now we've got a times by a length. Great. Times by length means increase in dimension. So if I'm starting from a length and I times it by a length, I get an area. Okay, start from 1 dimension, times by a length, go up to 2 dimensions. Okay, and so this whole thing represents an area. Let's do yet another example with plenty of detail given. So I got a length, 1 dimension, times it by length, 2 dimensions, now we're in area. Times it by length, 3 dimensions, we've got a volume. Times it by length again, I got 4 dimensions, which is some crazy thing we're not going to talk about. I don't even know myself. So, but actually, I'm not going to go into that. To some extent I do, but anyway. So 4 dimensions, and then divide by a length over here, so that's 4 dimensions, divide by a length, you go down 1 dimension because we're dividing by a length, gets you back to 3 dimensions, a length cubed, which is a volume. Okay, now this one, we've done most of this by now, so it should be making sense by now. You've got a length times a number. So length times a number does nothing. So that bit over here is just the length. Length plus a length is just the length. We talked about that there. So you've got a length here. All that stuff simplifies to a length. This stuff simplifies to a length as well. And this is a secret times between them. You know in algebra, if you don't write a times between that and the bracket, basic automatically means times. Okay. So you got a length times the length, which is an area. So that's done. Another example. Now this is another interesting one. Sometimes they throw these little wobblies in. Okay, you got a length plus a length squared. So that's an area. That's a length. A length plus an area. Length plus an area doesn't make sense. You can add 2 lengths together, like 1 meter plus 2 meters is 3 meters. You can add 2 areas together, 15 meters squared plus 16 meters squared. But you can't do 1 meter plus 3 meters squared. That doesn't make sense. So that is a nothing. Okay, and that's the end of the video.